Hi, welcome to Collective Worship. Let's begin by greeting each other with peace. Peace be with you. And now I'm going to light our virtual candle. So if you're ready, I want you to think back to when you were first starting to read. Now, if you're in the foundation stage or year 1, that's not so long ago. But if you're in year 6, you're going to have to think back quite a few years now. And do you remember that some words seemed really hard because they don't look the way they sound? So this word said, you might look at it and think saad, said, or this word or pl, but it's people, as I'm sure you all recognised. And how about this word? Now that's a long word, isn't it? That looks like a very hard word to say. But if you've watched the film Mary Poppins, you might have already worked out that this word is supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, which they sing a song about because it is such a hard word to say. And place names, the names of where people live, the towns or cities, can be hard words too. For example, this one. This one, you might look at it and think it says Worcestershire, but actually it's pronounced Worcestershire. And then how about this one? Yes, this is a real place name, and that looks like a real mouthful to say, doesn't it? Now, this isn't an English place name, this is a Welsh place name. And even though it's such a long word, it's the name of quite a small village in Wales. Now, I don't speak Welsh, so I apologise to anyone listening to this who does speak Welsh, but I have looked up on the internet how to say this place name, and I've been practicing, so I'm going to give it a go. It goes something like this. Llanfair pwll gwyn gish gogar ar chwrin drwbush Thlian till Sligo go cough. Now, I'm sure I didn't get that right, and I do apologise. But you can see that that is a really, really hard word to say. And how about these words? Sorry, and I forgive you. Now, these aren't hard words to read, and they're not hard words to pronounce, and they're not hard words to spell, because they look more or less the way they sound. Sorry, I forgive you. But sometimes they can be really hard words to say. Perhaps because we're embarrassed that we've done something wrong. Or maybe we're actually quite enjoying being grumpy and cross with someone. So we don't want to say, I forgive you, because that means we have to be friends again. And sometimes they're hard words to say because maybe your mom or your teacher has told you you have to say them. And they're hard to say because you don't really mean them yet. You've got to work on that a bit. But sometimes they can be really hard words to say because we do mean them. And we're so sad that perhaps we need to say sorry because we've hurt someone, and that makes us sad. Or sometimes we're sad that someone has hurt us, but we want to be friends again. So although it's hard, we say, I forgive you. So sorry and I forgive you can be really difficult words to say. And Jesus told a story about a family who hurt each other and got hurt themselves. You can find this story in the Bible, in the second half of the Bible in the New Testament, in the book written by Luke about Jesus' life in chapter 15. And the story goes like this. There was once a father who had 2 sons, and they lived and worked together on the family farm. The older son enjoyed working on the farm with his father. But the younger son, he wanted some adventure and excitement, and he couldn't wait to leave home. In fact, he was so impatient that he went to his father and said, "Dad, when you die, I'll get half of your money, won't I? Right? So, Dad, can I just have it now, please? I don't want to wait that long." Now his father was rather shocked, but he agreed. And the son hurried to pack up his things and collect his money. And without looking at his father's face, he set off on a journey to seek adventure. He travelled to a far country, and there he spent his money on food and drink and fine clothes. He spent his money on parties and music and dancing. But one day, he suddenly realised he had no more money left. He had spent it all, every last penny. And in that country at that time, it was a very hard time. There were no jobs, no work, no food, and no one would help him. The only thing he could find to do was looking after the pigs. And he was so hungry that he seriously thought about eating pig food. And then he remembered how good it had been when he was at home with his father. "I've been so foolish," he said to himself. "My father looks after his servants so well that they have spare food." He thought a bit more. "I will go home and say to my father, I have done the wrong thing to you and to God. I don't deserve to be your son anymore, but let me work as your servant." So he got up and set off. And while he was still a long way down the road from his home, his father looked out and saw him. And his father ran down the road and threw his arms around his son and kissed him. "Father," said the son, "I've done the wrong thing to you and to God. I don't deserve to be your son anymore, but let me work as your servant." But the father said to the servants, "Quick, bring some new clothes. Bring some shoes for his feet and put a ring on his finger. We're going to celebrate with a feast. My son, who seemed as if he was dead, is now alive. He was lost, but now he's found." The older son came home from working hard in the fields, and he heard the noise of the party and smelt the food cooking. "What's going on?" he asked. The servants told him, "Your brother has come home, and your father is celebrating with a feast because he is safe." The older brother got angry. His father went out to plead with him. But the son said, "I've worked hard for all these years for you and done everything you've asked. And I've never had a party for my friends, let alone a feast. But then this son of yours comes home after spending all your money, and you give him a celebration." "My son," the father answered, "you're always with me, and everything I have is yours. But your brother has come home. It seemed as if he was dead, but he's alive. He was lost, and now he's found. We have to celebrate." That's one of those stories that Jesus told that really makes you think, makes me wonder. And any of you that remember being in a Godly Play session will know that wondering questions don't have a right or a wrong answer. They don't even have just one answer. They can have lots of answers. And you'll have your own answers to the questions. So let's spend a little time wondering about that story together. So I wonder, which is your favourite bit of the story? I wonder who had their feelings hurt and who got upset. I wonder what it was like for the sons to have a hug of their father. I wonder what they knew about their father then. I wonder which bit of the story is about you. Where are you in that story? I wonder which is harder to say, "I'm sorry," or "I forgive you." That's a lot of wondering, isn't it? So if you'd like to, you could pause the video for a moment and wonder for a bit longer. But I'm going to finish the collective worship with a prayer. Now, if you'd like it to be your prayer, you could say Amen at the end. Or you could turn the sound down and read the prayer yourself. Or even put in your own words. But if you don't feel comfortable praying, then that's okay. You can reflect on the words. Loving God, you run to your children and hug them. We all do things wrong sometimes. Sometimes we hurt other people. Sometimes we get hurt. "I'm sorry" and "I forgive you" are hard words to say. Give us strength to say them and to mean them. Amen. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.